Flagship phones worth buying? Have you ever wondered why some people are willing to spend over $1,000 on a smartphone, while others insist that every phone is basically the same? At first glance, it seems ridiculous. After all, most phones can make calls, send messages, browse the internet, and take photos. So why do flagship phones continue to dominate headlines, break sales records, and generate excitement every single year? More importantly, are any of them actually worth buying? Because here's the truth nobody tells you. Not every flagship phone deserves your money. Some are overpriced status symbols wrapped in shiny marketing campaigns. Others hide groundbreaking technology that can genuinely transform your daily experience. And one particular flagship category is quietly changing the entire smartphone industry in ways most people haven't even noticed yet. By the end of this video, you'll know which flagship phones are truly worth buying, which ones aren't, and why the answer may surprise you. But before we reveal the winners, we need to understand how we got here. Because the modern flagship smartphone wasn't supposed to exist. Years ago, phones were simple tools. They had physical keyboards, tiny screens, limited internet access, and cameras that struggled to capture even basic moments. Then everything changed. In 2007, the smartphone industry experienced a turning point that completely rewrote the rules. Manufacturers suddenly realized that phones weren't just communication devices anymore. They were becoming cameras, computers, entertainment systems, personal assistants, and eventually, extensions of our identities. That realization sparked a technological arms race unlike anything the consumer electronics world had ever seen. Every year companies competed to build something faster, thinner, smarter, and more powerful than before. The result? Flagship phones became technological showcases. The best screens, the fastest processors, the most advanced cameras, the most experimental features. And while many people assumed innovation would eventually slow down, something unexpected happened. The competition became even more intense. Today, flagship phones aren't simply competing against mid-range devices. They're competing against professional cameras, gaming consoles, laptops, and even artificial intelligence tools. But here's where things get interesting. Not all flagship manufacturers took the same path. Some focused on creating the smoothest software experience possible. Others focused on photography. Some chased raw performance. Others pursued futuristic designs. And that's exactly why choosing the right flagship phone has become more confusing than ever. Let's start with one of the most recognizable names in the world. The flagship category built around simplicity. The ecosystem-focused approach. The philosophy that technology should disappear into the background and simply work. Many people buy these devices because everything feels connected. Photos sync instantly. Messages appear across devices. Files transfer effortlessly. The entire experience feels seamless. For millions of users, that convenience alone justifies the premium price. But is convenience enough to make a flagship worth buying? Not necessarily. Because another group of flagship manufacturers decided to pursue a completely different vision. Instead of focusing primarily on ecosystem integration, they focused on pushing hardware boundaries. Bigger sensors, faster charging, higher resolution displays, more powerful zoom cameras. These companies turned smartphones into engineering showcases. And for photography enthusiasts, the results were astonishing. Just a few years ago, carrying a professional camera was essential for capturing high-quality images. Today, flagship phones can produce photos so impressive that many casual users can't distinguish them from images captured on dedicated cameras. Night photography became dramatically better. Video quality improved to cinematic levels. Portrait effects became smarter. Computational photography began transforming ordinary shots into professional-looking images. Yet even this isn't the most surprising development. Because while manufacturers fought camera wars, another revolution was quietly unfolding. Artificial intelligence. For years, AI sounded like a futuristic buzzword. Something interesting but not particularly useful. Now it's becoming one of the biggest reasons to buy a flagship phone. Think about it. Your phone can summarize documents, translate conversations in real time, edit photographs automatically, generate content, organize information, and assist with tasks that previously required multiple apps. What once felt experimental is rapidly becoming essential. And here's the question that many buyers overlook. If AI continues improving at its current pace, will processor power become more important than camera quality? Keep that thought in mind because we'll come back to it later. First, let's talk about something that rarely appears in advertisements. Longevity. This might be the single most important factor when determining whether a flagship phone is worth buying. Many people focus on launch day specifications, megapixels, gigabytes, benchmark scores. But 5 years later, none of those numbers matter if the phone no longer receives updates or performs reliably. A truly worthwhile flagship isn't just impressive today. It's impressive years from now. The best flagship phones receive long-term software support, security updates, performance optimization, and feature improvements. In some cases, devices actually become better after purchase. That dramatically changes the value equation. Because a phone that lasts 6 or 7 years may ultimately cost less per year than a cheaper phone replaced every 2 or 3 years. And that brings us to one of the biggest misconceptions in consumer technology. The idea that flagship phones are always bad financial decisions. On the surface, spending over $1,000 sounds excessive. But consider this. Many people spend hours every day using their phones. More time than they spend watching television. More time than they spend using laptops. More time than they spend with almost any other device. When viewed through that lens, investing in a tool used daily for years becomes easier to understand. However, this logic only applies if the flagship genuinely improves your experience. And this is where the market begins separating winners from losers. Because some flagship phones deliver meaningful improvements. Others deliver expensive gimmicks. The difference is critical. Take folding phones, for example. When foldable devices first appeared, many people dismissed them as fragile experiments. Interesting technology, terrible practicality. But manufacturers kept improving them. Displays became stronger. Hinges became more durable. Software became more refined. And suddenly, foldables evolved from futuristic curiosities into serious productivity tools. Today, some users genuinely prefer foldable devices because they offer experiences impossible on traditional phones. Reading becomes easier. Multitasking becomes more powerful. Entertainment feels more immersive. Yet despite these advantages, foldables still aren't the best choice for everyone. Why? Because the biggest technological breakthrough isn't always the most practical solution. And that lesson appears throughout smartphone history. Some innovations become essential. Others disappear entirely. Remember 3D displays, modular phones, gesture-based controls that replace touch. Many of these ideas generated enormous excitement. Most eventually faded away. The challenge for consumers is identifying which innovations have staying power. And that leads us to the most important turning point in this entire discussion. The moment many buyers realize they've been asking the wrong question. Most people ask, what is the best flagship phone? But that's not the right question. The correct question is, what is the best flagship phone for me? Because the answer changes dramatically depending on your priorities. If photography is everything, one category of flagship devices stands above the rest. If gaming performance matters most, another category becomes more attractive. If battery life is your priority, your ideal flagship may be completely different. If productivity matters, foldables might suddenly make sense. And if ecosystem integration matters most, your decision becomes even clearer. The best flagship phone isn't universal. It's personal. Understanding that single concept can save buyers hundreds of dollars and years of frustration. Now let's reveal something even more surprising. The smartphone industry is approaching another major transformation. For over a decade, manufacturers competed primarily through hardware. Better screens, better cameras, better batteries. But hardware improvements are becoming increasingly difficult to notice. The difference between today's top flagship processors is often invisible during everyday use. Modern displays are already stunning. Cameras are already exceptional. So where does competition go next? Software intelligence, personalization, AI integration, context-aware assistance. The phones that thrive in the future may not necessarily have the highest specifications. They may simply understand their users better. And that's a profound shift, because it changes what flagship actually means. The flagship phones worth buying tomorrow may be defined less by hardware and more by intelligence. We're already seeing the early stages of that transition. Features that once felt impossible are becoming routine. Tasks that required effort are becoming automated. Experiences that seemed futuristic are becoming normal. And the pace of change appears to be accelerating. Which brings us to the final lesson. Buying a flagship phone shouldn't be about chasing hype. It shouldn't be about impressing strangers. And it shouldn't be about purchasing the most expensive device available. A flagship is worth buying when it solves real problems, enhances daily life, remains useful for years, and delivers value beyond marketing promises. That's the true standard. Not the price tag. Not the brand. Not the launch event. The actual experience. Because the most expensive phone in the world can still be a terrible purchase, and the right flagship can feel like one of the best technology investments you've ever made. As smartphone technology continues evolving, consumers face more choices than ever before. Some devices will promise revolutionary features. Others will focus on refinement. Some will chase trends. Others will focus on reliability. The winners won't necessarily be the flashiest options. They'll be the devices that successfully balance innovation, practicality, longevity, and user experience. And those are the flagship phones truly worth buying. The next time you see a flashy smartphone advertisement, remember this conversation. Look beyond the marketing. Look beyond the specifications. Ask what genuinely matters to you. Because once you understand your own priorities, choosing the right flagship becomes dramatically easier. And sometimes, the best phone isn't the one everyone is talking about. It's the one that quietly fits your life perfectly. If you enjoyed this video and learned something new, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss future deep dives into the world's most fascinating technology trends. And before you go, tell us in the comments what feature matters most to you when buying a flagship phone: camera quality, battery life, performance, design, or AI features. Your answer might reveal where the entire smartphone industry is heading next.